Hi, this is Sean from Ace Appliance in Toledo, Ohio. Welcome back to another in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com. Alright, we're here to replace the compressor. We're going to tap it first just to verify that everything is good. So we're going to remove the back panel here to access our compressor. So there are 9 1/4-inch screws that we're going to take out. So we got the screws out. Now I'm going to take the power cord here and just slide this up just to give me a little extra room moving things around. And I'm also, there's this little tab here. I'm going to press it down so I can remove the wires that are hooked to the strain relief. And that way I can lay my panel all the way down now. Wire out of the way. So obviously here's our compressor. So what we're going to do at this point here is I'm going to install a tap here. That way I can verify our the pressure inside the sealed system. This is the tap that we're going to install. This is where we can put our gauges onto. And this is where we're going to wrap onto the process stub here. So all we're going to do, we're going to put some flux on the process stub and then kind of crimp this down and then braze it on. Just going to try to get a little bit of flux on here. Mine's a little dried out, but what do we want to put it up in here? So I'm sure I have everything taken out of here so that way there's no seal or anything. I'm going to take my little access point here, slide it in place, get it to a spot where I can still get my my gauges on there, but it's not going to be in the way of the back panel, and then just do my best to kind of crimp it down so it doesn't slide too much on me. Something like that there. Now all I'm going to do is heat this up, put my brazing rod on there, and let it suck it in. Now the heat's going to draw the brazing rod into it. This just because I find that it's easy for me to not get a good seal because I'm filling in a lot of that. Filling in a lot of that opening. So we got that brazed down there. I'm going to set my torch aside. Now I'm going to take I filled up a bucket previously and put a little rag in there to help cool down temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and cool it down. Leave it just like this. And then we're going to hook up our gauges and either reclaimer or vacuum pump, whatever you have handy, and I'm going to check it for leaks just to make sure that I didn't do a bad job brazing that. Now before I tap this and pierce it, I want to make sure that from my brazing here that there's no leak. So I'm going to go ahead and hook my gauges up to it and go ahead and crank that on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open my gauges. So I'm going to open them up. I have my reclaimer already hooked up to the other side of my gauges. I'm just going to turn it on. Close my gauge up. Turn off my reclaimer. And then I can watch my needle here. And if there's a leak, I'm going to lose pressure. If there is no leak, it's going to maintain and it's going to hold. Okay, now that we've already verified that there is no leak in what I just brazed, I'm going to go ahead and remove this. I wet my vacuum. And now I'm going to install the piercing components that came with this tap valve. And there are 3. I don't know if you can see them.
Yep.
get all the seals and everything in place. So we're gonna get it ready to go, and all we have to do is tighten this down and it will pierce our line for us. Now when we do it, I want to support the valve, that way I don't, you know, cause any kind of leaking or anything. And it's just tightening that down. There tight, so I'm going to take this cap off now, and then now I can put my gauges on here. Now there's a Schrader valve installed in there with that, so we're going to go ahead and put our gauges on, and we'll be able to check the pressure in the sealed system. The compressor is currently on, and right now it's reading about 38, 35, somewhere in that range there. Should be much lower when it's running. Basically, so it just tells me that the compressor is not doing what it should do. So we're going to go ahead and replace the compressor now. Okay, so now I'm going to remove the refrigerant from the compressor since we verified that that's the problem. So I'm going to go ahead and open up my gauge. And then I'm going to turn on my drop down. We're going to remove our gauges from the unit, and now we can go ahead and start on the disassembling the compressor. Okay, so I'm just going to remove my gauges right here. I'm going to remove my Schrader valve because it has a rubber seal, and when I heat that up to remove it, it will damage it if I don't take it out now. So I'm going to go ahead. Alright, now I'm just going to slowly remove it. And there's just some residual pressure that's in there even though we had it into a vacuum. So we'll let that go. In the process, I'm going to disconnect our electrical supply. We have to unmount the mounts here, and I do that now before I braze, just because it's it might be too hot to get down here and do anything with that. So I'm going to remove our overload relay and assembly here. Just the clip. Remove our electrical component, remove our ground wire right there, so just keep that out of the way. Now we got our mounting brackets. Thank you. They're held in place by with these two little clamps or clips or whatever. So we are going to twist these so I can. So now with that loose, pop the clamp, and then the back will twist, and then we remove it off. And we do the same thing for the other side. Twist it. Get it off. So that's off. Now our compressor is completely loose from this here. Next step we're going to do is we're going to unbraze all of our fittings. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and remove the Schrader valve completely. And it just unscrews out with my Schrader valve tool. And then I can remove it. I'm going to put it so that way I don't lose it. And you're going to keep it on like the compressor part. There you go. And just kind of bend the copper out of the way so it doesn't stick to it. Go on to your next one. Okay, just drop that in the bucket. Just drop it. So just try not to rock back and forth. Try to go straight out when you pull. Alright. Which one are you shutting off first? This one? Yep. Reach across. I was going to grab stuff out of there. And that way it'll help to drop the temperature, because you just need to be able to grab it, that's all. We're going to wait till it cools down so we can remove the compressor. Now what Matthew's going to do is he's going to go ahead and clean up the line, so that way we make sure we get a good bond when we go to rebraze. So he's just going to go ahead and clean those up. We got the process tube, and then the other two lines that we removed from the compressor.
Put the rubber feet on.
Alright, he's going to remove the plugs there from it. And there's two on the other side. Still good?
Between
right.
the two right there and that right. A little bit higher.
Just gonna set it on these 4 tabs here. Okay, so we're gonna put the brackets in.
Now he's just going to lock those in place by twisting the tabs back, because they're only slotted in one direction, so it will hold it in place when you turn the tabs. And now he's going to see if everything's going to fit in there properly, if any adjustments need to be made. So he's just going to seat them in place, make sure they're going to go in a little bit, okay? Because we have to pull them back out and flux them before we can braze. But we're just going to make sure it lines up now, rather than heat things up and find out it won't fit. And some slight modification may have to be made.
Yeah, it's a tight angle there. It's got like a little bit left on the tip or something.
Alright, so 2 or 3 fit no problem. We're going to work a little bit on the one line there and get that cleaned up so it'll go in better. Okay, so right now all we're going to do is we're going to flux all of our fittings, and then once you flux it, go ahead and put it in. Or actually just leave it out. That way you can reach back there to braze that one fitting easier and then fit it in. But at least now it's ready to go. So remember, you're not heating the spot, you're making it slow. If you just heat up one spot, it may not heat right, or flow right to seal. Oh, touched it. You just want to line it about that direction? Yeah, that's fine. And that way, so you can just get the gauge on there. It's not too close to the compressor. recharge it. Just seeing if it's how much. Alright, so we're hooking the gauges up now to our access point compressor, and we're going to then pull the unit into a vacuum, which will then verify that we don't have any leaks from the work that we just did. So once that's on, make sure your gauge is open, and then flip the switch on your
we're just making sure it's holding the vacuum. It's still about 29 pounds pressure, so or vacuum, yeah. It's held for a little over a minute now, a couple minutes. So.
And if you look close, sometimes you can actually see the steam coming out of this little cap here as it's sucking that vacuum, which is raising the heat, and then it's eliminating that thing.
So we open the tank. We're just gonna purge the air out of the line here. So you're just gonna crack it just a little bit.
It's like $1 right there.
Yeah, I don't really see it fit.
No, that's alright. No, that's good. Once you hear that pressure, because this is providing the pressure for you.
Okay.
You good?
Go ahead.
0. So it's at 0 pounds right now. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and open up our gauges and see what it draws in. So we have ½ an ounce so far. So now it's 1.
You want 6 ounces, right?
Yeah, we're going to do an extra ounce to account for line loss.
Do it.
To speed up our process, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug the unit in, and the compressor, once it turns on, it will actually draw the refrigerant out of our tank. So that's only going to fit on one way. It's in the shape of a triangle, the 3 pins, so it only fits one way. So you flip on the left.
I got heard first.
And there
You got your clip, which is
yep,
gonna hook underneath and then snap over the top. It's a lot easier when you can actually see what you're doing. Just hooking up the ground wire into the compressor there.
Alright, so now all of our electrical is hooked up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to plug in our refrigerator. That's going to help us draw the refrigerant in. Now the compressor may not start up right away. And we're at 6 ounces. So we're shutting it off. At 6 ounces down. We'll shut off our tank. And now what we'll do is we're going to remove our gauges from the compressor. You're going to get a little bit of refrigerant that's going to come out because there's some in the line and you can't remove it fast enough like a bike tire. And then now we're going to go over all of our fittings and that Schrader cap and just put those on there and just to make sure we don't have any leaks.
Something's bending on me, but
and just like you know, a bike tire, if you were to put it under water, you're going to see bubbles come out, or you know, see some bubbles form if there's some sort of leak. Now there shouldn't be, because we checked by pressure by putting it into a vacuum and it held a vacuum. We did that 2 different times, and this is just a third thing just to make sure.
just got this little snap here. That's gonna correspond with the hole on the back here. It just keeps that would be if there was a valve installed on this particular unit. Just kind of keeps the wiring in a safe place. Slide the cord back in.
That's it.
Thank you for watching another quality in-home diagnostic video brought to you by ApplianceVideo.com.